Hi everyone, my name is Janessa and I am part of Group 11 along with Marie, Martha, Nicole, and Francis. And our topic that we're going to talk about today is bullying in the workplace. So to introduce the topic a little bit, just some statistics that I found really interesting. One source stated that 27.3% of nurses have experienced workplace bullying in the last 6 months. That's really high. That's more than 1/4 of people, or of nurses. Bullying in the workplace can cost over $4 billion yearly. That's a lot of money. And then I really liked this chart that I found. It says that what exactly is bullying? It's 3 definitions. One, a persistent pattern of verbal, nonverbal, or cyber aggression. In this case, it's more verbal and nonverbal. 2, deliberate intent to inflict physical, verbal, or emotional harm. And then 3, a real or perceived difference in power. So our thesis statement is nurse bullying or workplace violence is an unacceptable but growing problem in healthcare. Nurses should have the confidence and leadership support in reporting incidences of nurse bullying on their floors. This project that we're going to talk about will explore examples of workplace violence, causes, consequences, and ultimately strategies for preventing bullying in the workplace from the very beginning. I liked this picture. Often we joke about nurses eating their young, but unfortunately it's kind of a true thing, especially with new grad nurses. So examples of workplace violence specifically to nursing include power disparities, yelling, demanding a coworker to do something, refusing to guide new staff pertaining to those new grads, writing abusive notes, verbalizing harsh criticisms either to their face or behind their back, using body language to ward off conversation, undermining personal values, or rolling eyes and other body language such as that. Conditions that may lead to bullying. I really liked this article and I thought it was interesting that they named these 3 things. The first one is high workload, increased stress, what nursing job is not high stress, high workload. I really like this cartoon below. The doctor's asking when was the last time you had a stress test, and the patient is saying, well, I went to work yesterday. Often I feel like that when I'm at work, or the next day I'm thinking back about work, and I realized that it was really stressful on me, and it's a lot to do and get done in 12 hours. The second condition that they said in this article that leads to bullying is hospital style of management. If it's not effective style of management, it may be seen as not important to tackle this problem. And then this one's really interesting, seemingly covert acceptance of bullying. I don't think anyone would openly admit to bullying being okay, but I think sometimes it gets pushed under the rug or just not seen, and in a way on the outside that could be seen as acceptance, even though it is absolutely unacceptable. So consequences of workplace violence. This article said that there's consequences to both the organization and the individual. The first one is decreased patient satisfaction. I think that patients can absolutely get a sense of what's going on the floor. Also a high turnover rate. Obviously if someone's not happy at work, they're not going to stay. Short staff floors. There was I think it was maybe this article or another one said that if someone's being bullied, of course, they're probably going to call out more. And Nicole will talk about that more later in her section. So another organizational consequence is a toxic work environment, decreased quality of patient care, and increased likelihood of those that are victims bullying other people. And this article said that it could even be patients. Individual consequences include depression, anxiety, increased stress, hypertension, panic attacks at work, lack of concentration, and being dreadful of going to work, and increased abuse of non-prescription drugs and alcohol. And then there was actually a correlation between bullying and increased risk of suicide. So next, we'll talk about the theory that we used. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Martha. So our theory that we used was situational theory. A leader's effectiveness is determined on the ability to change his or her behavior to the level of his subordinates, in this case, the other nurses, combining directive behavior as an order in this case, so education in regards to the no bullying in the nursing field, and no tolerance for such behaviors, and also providing supportive behaviors in form of guidance of acceptable behaviors. So the leader should promote or display such behavior that she wants the other nurses to model. So to influence the behaviors of others, this leader must change their traits depending on the situation. So she must provide teaching, training, coaching, mentoring. Factors that include in this process is the leader, the situation, and the follower. This theory was actually studied by Paul Hersey and Kenneth Blanchard. And the results of this theory is, you get productive teams and organizations, engaged and committed employees, and an effective drive behavior or change in business results. So, the leader must model or be a good role model for the fellow nurses.
Hi, my name is Nicole, and I will be presenting the supporting points. The American Nurses Association position statement on incivility, bullying, and workplace violence is kind of long, but states that nurses are required to create an ethical environment and culture of civility and kindness, treating colleagues, coworkers, employees, students, and others with dignity and respect. It also reads that the nursing profession will no longer tolerate violence from any kind, from any source. All registered nurses and employers in all settings, including practice, academia, and research, must collaborate to create a culture of respect, free of incivility, bullying, and workplace violence. Bullying is personal. Attacks are usually meant to demean, belittle, or humiliate a person. It normally takes place in the form of repeated attacks on one specific person or group. These attacks can have detrimental effects on the victims. Studies have found that people who have experienced persistent bullying over long periods of time have low self-esteem and low self-confidence. They suffer from social isolation, and they also experience anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Workplace bullying is something that doesn't just affect the victim. It can have effects on the healthcare organization and also our patients. Studies have found that bullying is associated with poor organizational commitment and increased turnover, which costs the organization more money to hire new employees. Not to mention the other side effects of bullying that might increase costs, such as decreased productivity, potential litigation, and time away from work. One study in the United Kingdom found that bullying victims take an average of 7 more sick leaves per year, which could add up to 18 million lost working days. This study also found that employees who were bullied more often took more sick leave, which indicates that the more frequent the attacks, the more sick time taken. One study found that workplace bullying victims have poor job satisfaction, work performance, motivation, and efficiency. And another study found a significant association between workplace bullying and burnout. One of the most common groups to be affected by bullying is new graduate nurses. Experienced nurses are the primary perpetrators of bullying. And there's a funny saying that nurses eat their young, but it's not completely untrue. New graduate nurses are inexperienced and require more attention to detail and are more likely to make an error. Novice nurses have reported decreased cognitive ability following workplace bullying, and this of course puts our patients at risk for injury. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Frances Starling, and I conducted the interview for this portion of the assignment. I asked my supervisor, Mary Davis, to participate in this portion of the assignment, and I asked her 10 interview questions. Number one, tell me about your background. How long have you been in nursing? And what types of nursing positions have you had? She said that she has been in nursing for almost 20 years and that she used to work in ICU and trauma, and that she also taught for 2 years, and then she went into psychiatric nursing where she works as a floor nurse and also as my supervisor. Number two, where did you go to school? And did your schooling talk about nurse-to-nurse bullying? She stated that she went to San Diego State, and at that time they called it nurses feeding their young, and that it was part of the culture of being a nurse. Number three, have you experienced nurse-to-nurse bullying? She said that she has seen it and she has experienced it, and it appears to be more frequently in new grads, meaning it happens to new grads from experienced nurses more frequently. Number four, why do you think it occurs? She stated that nursing is a stressful job and nurses put so much care into their patients that they divert their frustration onto other nurses because it is safer to take out frustration on a fellow nurse opposed to a patient. Number five, what other types of bullying do nurses experience? She stated possibly nursing bullying from HR. Sometimes people attempt to go through HR to try and get rid of you if they do not like you, or they can give you the worst assignments like the hardest patients. Number six, what should a nurse do if she experiences bullying? They should confront the person who is bullying. Number seven, what should a nurse do if she witnesses bullying to one of her peers? And she stated the person that is being bullied should confront their bully. If that does not work, then they can go up the chain of command. The person being bullied should be able to stand up for themselves. Number eight, what should a nurse do if one of her friends bullies other nurses? And she said that they should say something to their friend because friends should be honest. Number nine, do you think nurse-to-nurse bullying will continue in nursing? And her response was yes. I think it would always continue, and that is human nature. And then lastly, number 10, what are some interventions nurses can use to stop the occurrence? She said that nurses need to stand up for themselves. Nursing will always be a stressful job. If you confront that person and give them examples of how they have been bullying you and your perception of it, they may see things from your point of view. You can talk about ways to resolve the issue and explain that it's causing you a lot of stress, and then they will most likely back up.
Hi, my name is Marie, and I'm gonna actually explain the plan of action to avoid bullying for nurses. One plan of actions is nurses leaders can play an important role to stop bullying. They are being leaders as nurses and managers. They can prevent stop bullying and by replacing bullying behavior but with respect. They can be role models for the other nurses. It's very important for perpetrators of bullying will receive also help as well, thus creating a safe working environment for nurses and co-workers. It is important for the nurses leaders to maintain a positive environment in the workplace as well as provide open communication and trust for the rest of the nurses. They also must encourage and address bullying and create a culture of change. Another strategy to avoid and prevent bullying is the development of programs and policies. By develop these programs and policies that will teach principles of bullying and will educate nurses to prevent bullying. programs will consider the legal obligation, anti-bullying prevention policies, bullying assessment, development of preventative measures, reporting and investigating. By this means, nurses need to adhere to our policies. They also need to assess and look for signs of bullying for nurses. When something happened and something like this happened, they need to report and provide help to the bullying person. Policies should target positive behavior, respect to each other, demonstrate equal opportunity for nurses, prevent discrimination. We need to be just for justice and fair behavior. We need to provide education about nurses' responsibility, open and constructive communication. They need to be, in order to prevent bullying and stop bullying, need to be supported in the workplace. The first step is to educate the nurses to understand bullying and what to do and what not to do when confronted by the bullying. To reverse bullying in the idea is to reverse bullying in the workplace. Nurses must support each other. The nurse must never resign as a bullying outcome. The resignation only will prove to the bully that he won. One mistake is to agree and be nice with the bully. That only proves to him or she that she is superior to any nurse. Nurses need to be involved in policies development in order to take ownership and responsibility. Overall, nurses need to be supported with each other in the workplace. They need to be involved in these programs, development of anti-bullying programs, and celebrate the anti-bullying so they can feel comfortable. They need to have open communication and share their concerns.